let's get started. I'm Alan Gibson. I'll be your host, and we're so looking forward to an interesting evening meeting young writers and winners of the Sassafras Exchange contest. First, let me ask, are there any teachers here? Could you stand up and take a bow as representative of all teachers at Dickens County?
Thank you.
Thank you, beautifully done. I like to write with humor, and Dan Poole and the Progress have been kind enough to indulge me in that effort. It doesn't always work. I had a great joke the other day. I'll try it out on you. The setup line is, where do you go if you want a python and a chocolate frosty? And the answer is Snake and Shake. Mildly amusing, so I decided to tell it to a guy downtown. Where do you go if you want a python and a chocolate frosty? The guy thinks for a minute and says, Ella J? Which was funnier than the joke. We thought, prelude to the award, we asked some of our writers in Sassafras to address the question in just about 1 minute each. What's the best thing that happened to you in school? The topic, as you know, is the compassionate classroom, so we thought it might be interesting to get a writer's take on what's the best thing that happened to you in school. Let's see. Why don't we start with William Young?
Uh-oh. Not a good place to start. May take a little longer than that. What's the best thing that happened to me in grammar school and high school? I got part of my education. All right. In grammar school, we learned the alphabet to start with, and it became part of our person. We took it with us. We still got it. We learned the multiplication table. Do they still teach that? Good. And we learned how to count money and make change. They don't still teach that. And our teachers ask us to look at the knowledge we're gaining as sort of as building blocks. In other words, take today's lesson and plant it firmly, and then you can stack tomorrow's lesson on top of it and the next day's lesson on top of that. And when we went on to high school, we take the blocks for mathematics and stack algebra on top of arithmetic. And that carried us on, and the idea was that we build this foundation so that we can build upon that foundation the house of knowledge it's going to take to get us through this world. Now, you young people here pretty well know what you're going to be doing for the next few years. You're going to be sitting in the classroom somewhere. But after that, who knows? We don't have any idea. And what we learn in school, you think you don't need it. You think you don't even need half of it. Which half is it you don't need? You know. In high school, we studied things like algebra to add to the rest of our arithmetic. We studied trigonometry. When I went to school, after I got out of grammar school and went to high school, we had shop classes. Hey, I've said grammar school and high school. I hadn't said a thing in the world about middle school. I didn't go to middle school. We didn't have one then, and we weren't allowed to use electronic calculators, handheld calculators. They hadn't been invented. In fact, I spent my 10th grade year was my first year in the new high school, which is now Jasper Middle School. One of the things I had was a shop class. Okay. In that shop class, we learned how to use hand tools and power tools and measuring devices. And another part of the shop class, we had welding. Another part, we had electrical wiring. And in this electrical wiring class, we learned how to wire up a receptacle and a switch and a light. And when the course was finished, the teacher said to us, you now have the knowledge to wire a house. Of course, I said, yeah, right. And I'm 16 years old. I got a new driver's license, girls. Here's what I need to know about wiring a house. Fast forward 26 years. Now I'm building my own house. With those building blocks that I'd already laid, I said, wait a minute, maybe I can do this. And so I bought the Sunset book, How to Wire Your House, to expand my knowledge a little bit. And there we went. Writing is somewhat the same. You take your grammar, your spelling, punctuation, all these factors, and you put them together as your foundation. And diagramming, you've done self-diagramming.
Really great. What brilliant remarks. What's the best thing that happened to you in school in one
I
sentence?
got part of my education.
All right, thanks. And thanks for, this guy's done a lot of work for young writers. Dr. Ann Pike, would you care to come up and tell us the best thing that happened to you in school?
Okay. Well, being a writer, I wrote something, of course. Because I write better than I speak. And mine is entitled The Compass of Compassion. I hope you all had a compass out there somewhere in your education. As an anxious high school senior, I entered the admissions office of Transylvania University in Lexington, Kentucky, trying to look more confident than I felt. I'd been told I'd be able to sit in on any college class of my choosing that day before making my final decision to attend classes there the following fall. Since I had an abiding interest in psychology, I went through the catalog to find some psychology courses that piqued my interest. I think I'd like to sit in on this one with Dr. Honey, I stammered, now even sounding as anxious as I felt. Oh yes, the admission counselor replied politely. It's pronounced Honey. He's one of our best, she answered back. You'll enjoy that one. So there I was, hooked. Now at least I could pronounce his name. Dr. Richard Honey was everything that was promised. Attending 4 years of college with him as my major professor was the highlight of my college career. His compassion, integrity, honesty, and professionalism have served me throughout my professional life as a psychologist. I can recall my thoughts at that time when making my vocational choice. If I can surround myself with people having the same level of integrity as Dr. Honey, it would be a great blessing in my life. That first decision has served me well over the years as I've met others with equally high levels of compassion and integrity in this field. Dr. Honey's influence and abiding values remain a compass in my life. I felt compelled to tell him this 4 years after graduation upon entering graduate school in a letter of thanks, telling him of my professional aspirations. Although now deceased, at least he knew of the impact, and the compass that he had provided to that entering high school freshman who couldn't even pronounce his name. Thank you, Dr. Richard Honey, for your compass and your compassion in my life. My life has been enhanced by your presence in it.
Thank you. And Mary Ellen Johnson, in 1 minute, what's the best thing that happened to you in school?
1 minute, okay. Really, the best thing that happened to me in all my years of schooling was education. I loved learning. I loved school. I learned to read, and I had some very understanding teachers who allowed me to read ahead while everybody else was back there reading aloud. And I appreciated all of their understanding. I even had one teacher, my Spanish teacher, who used to send me money every now and then to help out with my college expenses after I had graduated from school. So to her, I owe a big debt of gratitude. But to all my teachers, thank you.
You and George want to do this? Let us also acknowledge the presence of George and Sue Justice, who have been big supporters of the group. And now let's move on to the business of the evening, giving the awards for the youth writing contest, Sassafras Literary Exchange, to present the awards for poetry, I'm pleased to introduce Lynn Turner, who's one of the sharpest, funniest young writers I've encountered in a long time. And is the first of our presenters in the field of poetry is Lynn Turner.
Poetry is a form of literature that can take so many avenues in its creation. The one thing it must always have is that it must evoke an emotion. Poems can be very loose in structure. They can be very prescribed. For instance, Shakespeare worked often in a form that used iambic pentameter, and yet he seemed to have write effortlessly, but he was putting puzzle pieces together in a way, perhaps it was easier for him. One example of that, and always iambic pentameter has 10 syllables, is, if music be the food of love, play on. Seems so beautiful that you don't notice the meter, but it's there. At the other end of the spectrum is free verse or prose poetry. And prose poetry is very much like any other kind of prose, from a newspaper article to a fiction book. The difference in regular prose and poetry, again, is that it must evoke an image. And generally it has some metaphors or rhyme or some other kind of structure to it that regular prose does not have. Free verse can be like a prose poem, but it can also incorporate some other forms of poetry. Rhyming poetry is probably the first kind of poetry that we were all exposed to, with things at our mother's knee or in kindergarten, such as Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall, Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. And from there, or possibly about the same time, many Christians learned about the beautiful poetry that's in the Psalms and other parts of the Bible. Then there are sonnets and idylls and limericks and quatrains and long epic poems, such as the Iliad and the Odyssey. There are short poems, like the extremely short haikus with 17 syllables, but those can pack a punch. Some poems contain wit, humor, plays on words. The most wonderful thing about poetry is it can take any form that the writer wants it to take. The entrants this year in our contest were free to write in any form they chose, but they did have to address the theme, the compassionate classroom. They were also evaluated on spelling and grammar. First of all, I want to congratulate everyone that entered in the poetry field. Your submissions were wonderful. We enjoyed them tremendously, and it's always such a pleasure to see what young people can do with their writing. It takes all the judges to evaluate these writings because they are varied and they're just really wonderful. We had a couple of first place winners that were probably outstanding, the most outstanding, but there were so many good pieces that we have not only a first, second, and third, we have some honorary mentions as well. And I'd like to begin with those. If you will, students, when I call your name, come up and shall they stay?
Yes, let them stay there for a picture.
All right, and Ms. Wilson is going to give you your certificate or your award. First of all, for the poem New by Bailey Jordan of Jasper Middle School, there is an honorable mention. Is Bailey here?
She's not here, sorry.
All right, for the poem Excitement, Ariel Hayes has won an honorable mention, and she's from Pickens County Middle School. Congratulations. Get a picture. Okay. Oh, each one? Okay. For the poem, The Girl on the Bus, Sierra Stanfield from Jasper Middle School.
She
Okay.
couldn't come.
For the poem, Original Masterpiece by Madeline Poole, Pickens County Middle School. Our third place winner for the Compassionate Classroom is Caitlin Redmond of Jasper Middle School. Stand here.
Sure, ma'am. Lots of other things going on, sorry.
Our second place winner is Aline Maddox from Jasper Middle School for the poem One Act of Kindness. Now, we have two first place winners. We have a middle school winner and a high school winner. They have the same last name. For middle school, first place for the poem Never Again is Mallory Wheeler from Jasper Middle School.
Yay!
Congratulations.
That's heavy. It is heavy.
Come up here and
Let's do it.
wait.
All right. Yeah, hold that plaque up, yeah. Good. Let's do that twice.
Heavy.
A big smile. That's better.
And first place for high school, the title is The Impractical Mission. This is by Emily Wheeler from Pickens County High School. Related?
I don't know.
No, you might be. Come up and say picture. You're not.
Hold the plaque up. Okay, all right. Let's do that twice. All right. Something to put your point. It's all right.
Thank you. Congratulations to all of our.
All right, congratulations, winners. Thank you, Lynn. Now it's my pleasure to introduce, to present the awards for fiction, a lady who has come at writing from more aspects than I can name. She gives moral support to writers. She edits. Why are you getting up? You think this is going to be you? She is one of the liveliest comic and serious writers that you'll ever meet. If you seriously, if you want to talk writing with somebody, Maria is very unselfish and helpful in that regard. And it's my pleasure to introduce my friend Maria Bowling.
Put that in writing and sign it. I too am like Anne. I'm a better writer than I am a speech giver. So I will start with Mark Twain, who said, "The difference between truth and fiction is that fiction has to make sense." It does. The shelves of our library here is full of, stacked and full with the stories of countries, but out in the street here in Pickens County, there's just the air swarms with all kinds of stories. They're living stories, and they play a part of us and play a part of our lives. They are immersed in humor and gossip and jokes and excuses and anecdotes, and some of them are outrageous lies, and some of them are just little white lies. But they're all daily inventions of our mind, and these fiction stories can be found, frankly, just anywhere. They thrive in the little morning coffee and biscuit shops all over town, and they're in the school lunchroom and in the beauty shop and in the nail salons and at the gas station. You'll find all kinds of stories and things to write about, and I think our winners here of anything that they've written, poetry or fiction, nonfiction. They've all used their brain and have come up with these wonderful things to write about. If you really run out of material, I do occasionally, I go to Walmart. And there you'll find a buku of things to write about, and people, and all kinds and classes of people to write about there. There's also the thrift store and Care's Pantry, the food pantry, and the courthouse, and the old jail here, and a new jail, and any courtroom. They're just wonderful stories that abound in boardrooms and bedrooms. So keep an eye out, kids, and you'll find all kinds of things to write about. I know you think about fiction, but people want to write about the like the sunrises and the sunsets and the trees and nature and animals and things like that. But those are almost mundane things. But find the real truth behind some of these things to write about. You'll find some humor there too. So, the years of watching and reading have conditioned us to think about fiction as something either on the screen or in a book. But it's not necessary because, again, we can find these things right here on the streets of Jasper. So tonight I have the privilege of announcing the winning authors of the fiction stories. And this was a hard task to do. Lynn's going to help me give these out. And I have a list. Yeah. Honorable mention, which is really honorable too, because this was a hard thing to come about. We have An Act of Kindness by Mandy Adams, Pickens County Middle School.
There we go. Good.
All right. Our next one is My Good Deed by Stephen Jordan. Stephen doesn't get his picture made. Okay, we have Devin by Alexis Swafford. Here she comes. Good story. And Young Doctor by Jackson Leak. Moving right along. We're All Human by Emily McNair. No, Emily. Oh, okay. All right, moving up to third place. It's Rage by Kelsey Ingsig. Sorry, don't mispronounce it. Okay. Kyle and Jasmine get second place, written by Dalton Crow. Thank you, Dalton. That's a good job. And, drum roll. First place, I Was a School Bully by Andreas Torres.
Okay, and our final award for the evening is nonfiction, which covers a lot of fields, and I can't think of anybody to present the awards better than my television colleague and one of the sharpest, most salient writers in Pickens County. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to present Joan Wilson.
Good evening. Well, it's appropriate that I'm presenting nonfiction because I've got some nonfiction announcements to make before we start giving the awards. First of all, I wanted to say that anyone interested in writing is invited to come to the Sassafras Literary Exchange meetings, and those are held on the first Monday of each month at 7 p.m. at the Sharp Top Arts Association building. And our winners are especially invited and have a year's free membership to Sassafras Literary Exchange, so we hope you can come join us. Also, our winners will receive publicity. Their entries or submissions will be at pickensprogressonline.com and nopickens.com, and they will be recognized in the Pickens County Progress. So there will be lots of recognition for our winners here this evening. The nonfiction entries were similar to the poetry and the fiction in the amazing quality that we received and the difficulty we had in selecting the top winners from those that were submitted. We also had honorable mentions. And the concepts of compassion, kindness, empathy, and sympathy in the classroom and in the general learning environment were expressed eloquently in many ways. For example, one of our honorable mention winners wrote, "Classmates and friends are there to guard and guide you through the classroom with grace, love, and compassion." Congratulations to Adam John Ward of Wildwood Christian Academy on an excellent day. Another honorable mention winner gave this practical and important advice about bullying. Bullying is a serious subject that can ruin someone's life. So stand up for your friends and let them know that you care. Tell the bus driver or teacher and they will deal with it. Joseph Angelison of Jasper Middle School, congratulations. One more honorable mention winner wrote of the mistreatment of kids that don't learn as fast as others, and went on to say that if you don't do something about the bullying, then you are as guilty as the bully. Ethan Turner of Pickens County Middle School, congratulations on a very empathetic work.
And I'm so proud of him.
That's his grandmother. Another honorable mention winner talked about a compassionate person who changed the world through her kindness and started a chain reaction of kindness and compassion. Congratulations for a wonderful work, Megan Durham of Pickens County Middle School. Is she here tonight? Okay. And our final honorable mention winner wrote about warm hearts that may not be dressed in expensive clothes or have a popular look on the outside, but on the inside, the warmth from their hearts could give heat to the poor. Congratulations, Caitlin Beck of Pickens County Middle School. All right. A life Changing Story is our third place winner. In it, the author talks about befriending someone who was different and how each of us can change someone's life with a little compassion. Congratulations, Shelby Whitehill from Jasper Middle The envious classroom won second place and states that if something bad happens in this classroom, someone will help. In fact, Joseph Meters said he would trust the people in his class with his life. Congratulations, Joseph Meters of Pickens County Middle School. Our first place winning entry ends with a poem and talks about a school assignment, bullying, reaching out to become a friend, and a pineapple. Mary Gallagher wrote, "For the people that judge from the outside, some are like pineapples. Even if the outside is prickly and ugly, the inside is always sweet." Congratulations, Mary Gallagher of Pickens County.
Stand up and get a picture. And it's Macy Gallagher. Oh, that's okay.
And we did get the name right on the plaque.
If we can get all the winners to.
Yeah. Did all the winners come up in a group from every category? And we're going to do a group picture.
Just like Fantasy Island, all smiles.
That's our program. We're so proud of these winners and their teachers and their families that we just don't know what to do. Please stay, mingle with them, talk with them. If you folks ever need somebody to help advise or edit you on writing, just look up any member of the Sassafras Literary Exchange. We'll be delighted to do it. So that's it. We're already changing Pickens County. You're going to change the world. Congratulations.